Thank you for tuning in to what is the first episode of News Flash. This is our automotive-themed news channel from ClassicCars.com, the journal that is not filmed in front of a live studio audience, where we bring you weekly car news from the week prior. This week is going to be a big week, of course, as we have lots of information following Monterey Car Week, including all sorts of special releases from some British coach-built cars, some special updated versions of existing cars from the likes of Maserati and Lamborghini. Dodge is now exploring the world of EV muscle cars, and some more from your favorite bespoke creators like Singer. Stay tuned for more. Getting into our first bit of news there, Ford Stampede. Ford has announced there is going to be a rally called the Ford Stampede, which is following the release of the 7th generation Ford Mustang. The way this is going to happen here is everyone's going to start with your favorite Mustang. You go ahead and show up to Tacoma, Washington, where you'll be driving all the way to Ford headquarters in Michigan with a lot of scenic stops along the way. Now, once in Michigan, all of the cars will go ahead and head downtown for the unveiling of the 7th generation car, which we don't really know the name of quite yet. There's a little bit of speculation and some things floating around, of course. We know that the name might be different, even though a lot of speculation says it could be the S650. The only thing we really have confirmed so far is the fact that the car will have some snowflake wheels that look very similar to the 2013-2014 generation of GT500s, to me personally. And then, of course, there should be a possible hybrid version of the car and even some mentions of some possible EV conversions. In Monterey, Singer Vehicle Designs has unveiled a new car, which doesn't happen very often because they are a pretty small company. We just saw the Turbo Study get released, and now we have the brand new 911 Cabriolet, which is of course based off the platform of the Turbo Study. So the car we unveiled here is red, and of course it features a Cabriolet body style, which is a little bit different from as we know it, as it has been Singerized. So this car now has a carbon fiber body. It has some intakes that are very similar to the Turbo Study, and is a whopping 510 horsepower to boot, following a 6-speed manual transmission, making this an enthusiast car. Now, Singer has not disclosed prices for the sake of every car is a bespoke commission, and prices may vary based on what the customer desires. Acura is unveiling a brand new electric SUV called the ZDX. Now, this is a very extreme looking SUV, lots of pieces and bits of information on the styling of the car that I am questionable whether it will actually make it into production. That is a concept vehicle after all, but it's exciting to see Acura stepping into a new field, so this will be their first electric vehicle. Now, Acura has been partnered with GM, or more likely Honda's been partnered with GM, I should say, ever since the success of the Chevy Bolt, sharing technologies and getting Honda and Acura prepped for the future, with Honda always trying to be on the leading edge of technology. Now, I should point out this isn't the first time we've seen Acura dabble in hybrid and electric technologies. With, of course, the Acura NSX along with the RLX and MDX SUVs all have hybrid versions, so it's exciting to finally see Acura go full electric and see what they can do with this SUV. You may have already seen it floating around the internet, but Dodge has unveiled the next generation concept of what is an EV muscle car, the Dodge Charger Daytona SRT Concept EV. First of all, that's a mouthful, and I'm kind of disappointed that Dodge named another vehicle Daytona and didn't even put a nose cone or a big wing on it. But all jokes aside with the Daytona references, the car does look pretty good. We now have a 2-door Charger, which is a change from the Charger as we know it, with 4 doors for that gasoline version of the current generation, and it has a series of new upgrades, and Dodge was keen to mention all the new patents that have gone into the design of this car, and featuring a new R-Wing, as they call it, which is a new aerodynamic package. And the car even features an electric exhaust, which is a first of its kind. This is the first time we've seen a manufacturer attempt something like this. Sure, some of the other electric vehicles like the Taycan have made some noises, but this is the first time a car has had an electric exhaust, which according to Dodge can go up to 126 decibels. Now, I will say, watching some of the videos, including Dodge's own video unveiling the car, I personally did not like the sound of it. It almost sounded a little bit like a Jaguar to me through the camera. But we'll ignore that for now. Maybe it sounds better in person, or maybe there's some more fine-tuning in the process. As Dodge reminds us, after all, this is still a concept. Now, the car should have some multiple power options, including 3 EV options up to 800 volts, and Dodge has even mentioned that the Direct Connection, which is their aftermarket performance company, will offer 9 other horsepower levels and upgrades for the vehicle. Following that, Dodge also unveiled the Hornet, which is their new SUV that's in the compact SUV space. So Dodge has not had a vehicle in that space for a while, so the new Dodge Hornet will go ahead and step into that. And before you say anything, I want to make sure you realize this is not the AMC Hornet, this is a Dodge Hornet, which is a compact SUV. And following the announcement of this, Dodge has already received 14,000 new orders for the SUV, which is a staggering number for a vehicle that nobody's even gotten to drive or anything like that. So that's what's new from Dodge. In special news specifically from Monterey, you may have seen the Porsche and Pixar collaboration to create the 911 Sally Special, as they call it, which of course is a brand new 911 that has been painted and had some special adjustments, including interior adjustments and stitching, as well, and references to the Cars movie, and let's not forget pinstriping that have been added to the car to make it look just like the Sally car to commemorate the 20th anniversary of what would have been the 2002 996 generation of 911 featured in Pixar's movie Cars. Now, that car sold for a whopping $3.6 million. And before you say that's crazy, all the proceeds are going to charity, so it was all for a good cause. Now, I am interested to sort of follow up and see what happens with the future of this car, because I think it's pretty cool personally. Some of the intricacies that they added, and little nods to the movie, I think make the car really special. And it would be fun to see more stuff like this from Porsche in the future. Maserati has unveiled the next version of their MC20 supercar called the Cielo Spyder. Now, the Maserati Cielo Spyder is of course a hardtop retractable convertible that also features electrochromatic glass. Now, what that means is the top will of course fold away like a normal convertible, but when the top is up, the glass can either be opaque or clear depending on what you're looking for that day. Now, this version does start out a little bit higher than the regular coupe, as this car comes out about $250,000 versus the coupe MSRP of $217,000. And don't forget to keep an eye out for the race car version, which will be heading to the European Series in GT2 starting early in 2023. In other news from companies unveiling the Roadster version, Hennessey has unveiled the Venom F5 Roadster. This model will be limited to 30 production units at $3 million each. Now, the cool part about this is Hennessey has always been known for chasing speed, and this model is no different. They will be pursuing their own record, which currently stands from the 2016 Venom GT at a top speed of 265.6 miles an hour. It'll be interesting to see Hennessey finally post the videos and see where these tests end up, because that sounds like an insane speed to be doing in a Roadster. So I'm really excited to see where Hennessey ends up in this. This Roadster is of course powered by the same 6.6 liter Fury engine, producing over 1,800 horsepower. So can't wait to see where that goes. Another manufacturer that's shown an updated version of their model comes from Lamborghini. Lamborghini has fully unveiled the Urus Performante. Now, while the Performante did break the new SUV record for Pikes Peak, the car was hidden in camouflage. It wasn't quite ready to be unveiled at that point, but we have finally seen it here at Monterey. So what's happening now is we have an upgraded horsepower number from 641 to 657 horsepower. I know that doesn't sound like much, but I can promise you Lamborghini's going to tune it in there to make sure they put it where it counts. And don't forget that this Urus Performante now holds the production SUV record for going up Pikes Peak. Now, this car is going to have a higher MSRP as well, starting north of $250,000, and I'll remind you that the base model comes in at $230,000. So this is the time to ask yourself, do you want the regular Urus or do you want the record holder for Pikes Peak? Moving on to our British manufacturers, Aston Martin has unveiled a new coach-built car, the Aston Martin DBR 22. The car will only be available for a select number of Q customers, but it's a really interesting concept. It's essentially Aston Martin's second open-top cockpit style design. Now, this car is inspired by racers of the 50s and 60s, and it's going to feature a awesome V12 producing 715 horsepower through an 8-speed paddle-shifted transmission. Just another one of those bespoke Aston Martin builds that always seems to blow us away with their amazing styling. The next British car that's been unveiled is the Bentley Mulliner Batur. Now, I may not have pronounced that correctly, but what I do have to tell you is how crazy Bentley's getting with the coach building cars. This car production will be limited to just 18 units, and it does feature the signature Bentley 6-liter W12 that you'll find in their other models, but horsepower has been upgraded to a whopping 730 horsepower. This car will also feature an active aero wing and what Bentley promises as some of the the best in grand touring capabilities from Bentley. Some special options that are also included is Bentley has some sustainable options for interior choices, or of course you can go with your typical carbon fiber if you're just feeling a little bit more racy. McLaren has unveiled their latest track weapon, which you can't even buy if you wanted to because all 25 examples are already spoken for. That new car is called the Mclaren Solus GT, and it's powered by a V10 with 829 horsepower that revs to over 10,000 RPM. Now, the cool part about this car is McLaren's also stated that this car will outperform any McLaren around a track, except their single-seat race cars, which sounds like a really bold statement coming from a manufacturer. But what I'd like to see, if McLaren's going to put something like this on the table, I want to see this car head to the Nürburgring and, of course, some other tracks, and I want to see them start setting records because I want to see what this car can do, and most of all, I really want to hear it scream. Last but not least in news is the Lucid Air Sapphire. Now, the coolest part about this car is that it now has 3 motors. Previously, the top Lucid car had 2 motors in it with already 1,100 horsepower from those 2 motors. This will have, of course, increased output, and Lucid claims that the car will have a 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds and be capable of over 200 miles an hour. Now, this car has not a cheap price tag. It starts at $250,000, which may sound like a lot given that this is an electric sedan, but don't forget that you can price out the likes of a Taycan to over $230,000 as well. So with all that considered, remember that this car should be considerably faster than the Taycan with all of its current specs. So you have to ask yourself, is it really worth it, and which direction you want to head in for your performance electric sedan? With that, that's the end of our first episode of Newsflash. If you want to read any of these articles for yourself, be sure to check in the description below as we'll have them linked for you. And if you're looking for your next collector car, be sure to check out ClassicCars.com and AutoHunter.com, where we have a variety of classic cars available for you to purchase. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh God, nope, that's not right at all. Oh God, I'm gonna on this one. Charger Daytona SRT Concept TV. Daytona. Oh God, I already forgot the name. SRT Concept TV. The Charger. So moving on to the first article here. For September 14th. Version of their M Series. Jeff. Breath. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. It's an hour. I think it's really interesting that Venom... Jeff. He's 6? Oh, no, that's wrong.